Heyo chaps, so Invincible Season 3 is currently airing, and I've personally been enjoying it. Mark and Eve getting together, Rex's redemption, and Episode 4 were particular highlights for me. However, I can definitely say it's the weakest season so far. There's a lot of reasons why I feel that way. Season 1 and 2 felt like they were constantly building towards a climax in a way that this season really hasn't. Some of the character conflicts I find to be a bit messy. And my biggest complaint is this baby. Yeah, I really don't like Oliver. I get that he's supposed to be a kid and all, but even then I just can't take this goober seriously. He's not AJ in Season 5 of The Sopranos level of annoying, but still. The VA isn't doing a bad job either, but I just don't think he pulls off the more dramatic moments. However, none of these complaints have been as popular or been as echoed on Twitter than... Yep, this has been one of the most hotly debated things about the show for a while now. I recall this argument really started to gain traction around Season 2, where many people were already complaining about the lack of detail and in-between frames, with a particularly stupid subsection of people demanding they bring back the animator who does the teasers because they looked so much better, completely ignoring that, oh wait, a 1-minute sequence that they outsourced to an animator with vastly more time would look better no matter what. Hey, what am I?
Stupid.
No, a Twitter user.
What's the difference?
Fuck
me, John.
Though admittedly it wasn't as prevalent back then because the show was getting a lot more flack regarding the mid-season break, which was much more reasonable. Back when I first saw this complaint, I thought it was dumb as hell. Everybody is entitled to their own opinions, of course, but most arguments I saw boiled down to art style bad and people comparing it to anime, which,
Hell yeah, I love sweatshop workers!
That said, I obviously get why people would want an adaptation of a comic they really love to look absolutely perfect, because, well, that original comic looked really fucking good. I personally don't really need that, as I think the writing and voice work are more than enough to carry the show to greatness, but I can see why others would feel differently. The standards for Western animation have very much risen as well. However, with this argument, a lot of the examples cited are shows with much shorter runtimes per episode, or just less episodes per season, which is kinda why I don't think it's a valid comparison. And something like this skit kinda summarizes why I was so dismissive of these criticisms. It felt like a group of reactionary Twitter people who felt the need to undermine the work of the animators to make their point. Guys, if anything, it's the execs allowing these corners to be cut, not the people whose fucking job it is to not do that. But then Season 3 rolled around and... yeah, I can kinda see it now. I don't know, man, I genuinely believe this is an all-time low for the animation. However, most people boil it down to it just looking bad, which isn't really the issue to me. The real problem with Season 3 comes down to inconsistency. The reason I didn't get on Season 1 and 2's animation was, frankly, because I didn't notice as much. But now I do, since it's incredibly obvious which episodes have priority and which don't. Episodes 1 and 3 had the most obviously lackluster animation, while 2 and 4 were far more solid. This annoys me as, for example, Episode 3 is one of the more narratively important ones. And yet it's saddled with poo, because Episode 2 and 4 were far more action dependent. I'm sure the finale of the season will look fantastic, but frankly, that shouldn't be at the cost of other episodes, that in this case are actually narratively important. I'd rather the show be like Season 1, where it's consistently average. As well, yes, that season still wasn't as true to how beautiful the comics looked, it at least was always consistent with itself. Whereas now, I can literally do a game of which episode did they care about, and which were abandoned like how I was abandoned by my sauceless cookie father. Many people have pointed to the stacked voice cast and said that maybe they should have cut down on that in favor of the animation. Counterpoint. Amazon should just increase the funding altogether. If they can spend billions on the Rings of my ass, then I'm sure they can afford it for one of their most popular shows. Especially if they want to push out a season every damn year. Yeah man, I'm sure those Invincible animators are having it real easy, animating 8 44-minute episodes. With a production pipeline like that, I'm amazed we didn't just get something that looks like fucking Problem Solvers. Wow, I realize I've mentioned that show like twice on my channel so far. This is the most I think anyone's ever thought about Problem Solvers. Anyway, this is why I asked that people cut the creative team some damn slack. They have barely any control over the schedule, and given how they themselves admitted the mid-season break was stupid, it's very apparent they're receptive to criticism, so please remain respectful instead of yelling like a baby.
Say that again?
In long, the animation isn't bad but rather inconsistent, and instead of being assholes, we should be more constructive to guarantee that the creatives take it into account and ask Daddy Bezos for more cash. That's all I got for today. Go watch Severance.